So at the outset, on behalf of Niti Aayog, let me welcome Honorable Vice Chairman, CEO Niti Aayog, the distinguished guests from the line ministries, PSUs, when NPCIL has also joined, our knowledge partners, industries, think tanks uh, uh, from the various international and the national level. And let me welcome all for this launch of joint report of Niti Aayog and RMI, harnessing green hydrogen uh, opportunity for deep decarbonization in India. Let me mention here that the exercise of bringing this report started for more than a year, and the team of Niti Aayog, RMI, experts from the TERI, BCG were part of bringing analytical element to it. The report has undergone under various rounds of consultations, and independent experts were also engaged for uh, their independent review. This exercise helped Niti Aayog and its team to closely interact with the MNRE and the demand ministries for finalizing the green hydrogen mission and also the policy which is under active consideration of the government to notify it. The report clearly provides the perspective of India that can become a global hub for green hydrogen production and exports. So, without much ado, let me invite Mr. Clay Stranger, our partner from RMI, who is joining from the US virtually, for his initial remarks.
Thank you very much. Thanks for this opportunity to participate in this important event on this very timely topic. And a few very brief words of context here from my side before we move to the keynote presentation and report launch itself. First of all, I want to express my sincere gratitude to the Niti Aayog team, RMI team members, all the experts who worked tirelessly for over a year preparing the analysis and insights that will be shared in a few moments. I also want to thank CEO Niti Aayog for your leadership, partnership, and vision that inspired this book, and Vice Chairman Niti Aayog for your leadership and guidance in releasing it and hopefully carrying it forward. So we are witnessing significant global interest on hydrogen, and many countries are in the early stages of establishing strategies or roadmaps to support the future hydrogen economy. And recent project and investment announcements from the private sector confirm this commitment to the transition. It's our perspective that the future winners and losers of the hydrogen economy globally are being decided right now before our eyes. And India has unique strengths, unrivaled anywhere that we've looked, and we are sensing and detecting globally, that can be leveraged here. So it's helpful to contextualize the potential for hydrogen in India within the context of energy security, economic development, and opportunities to realize a prosperous low-carbon economy. The backbone of the clean energy transition is often characterized as increasing share of renewable energy in the power sector, complemented by electrification of end use, such as buildings and transport. And by all means, this is a critical part of the solution. But the key pillars of a fast-growing and industrializing society, such as steel, ammonia, and others, cannot be made with electricity alone. So it is becoming abundantly clear that massive potential exists in integrating plans for a hydrogen economy alongside the steeply falling costs of renewables like solar and wind. Unlike fossil fuels, which are geography-specific and finite in nature, green hydrogen can be produced anywhere and anywhere at any time that renewable energy capacity exists. India is positioned to directly translate some of the world's lowest realized solar costs into a globally competitive green hydrogen industry. And this could enable the mass production of an energy molecule. Oil and gas is domestically produced and is carbon-free. So in this context, and as I understand it, India has embarked on a hydrogen roadmap and potential mission. The report being released today aspires to serve as a contribution to that, as a knowledge basis for the benefit of the discourse around green hydrogen. So it's my hope that it can be helpful in capturing some of the opportunities at hand and in navigating the path ahead. I'm grateful to see so many leaders from government and industry convened both in person in the Niti Aayog headquarters today, as well as online. And I want to underscore my gratitude to Niti Aayog CEO and Niti Aayog Vice Chairman for your leadership in launching the Harnessing Green Hydrogen report. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Clay. Now I will invite the CEO Niti Aayog for presenting the green hydrogen strategy for India.
Vice Chairman Niti Aayog, Mr. Suman Berry, not merely a great economist, but also a great energy expert. It's a real pleasure and an honor that this report is being released by him in the midst of all our partners and many industry leaders who've joined us virtually. This report is actually a product of a detailed study spread over a year with RMI, TERI, CEW, BCG, and we've done a separate peer review subsequently from many other experts. So this is about making India a global hub of hydrogen production and exports. India's commitment made by the Prime Minister at Glasgow, the Panchamrit, talks about 500 gigawatt of renewables. India's renewable industry has already grown to 110 gigawatt. It has attracted several global blue chip investors. It has brought down solar prices to record low levels of 199 kilowatt hour. But the challenge is what next for India's renewable story? And to my mind, the answer lies beyond electricity. It lies because in its total energy basket, electricity just accounts for 18 to 19%. And what is beyond electricity? What is beyond energy? And the answer is green hydrogen, which will power a green industrial revolution, not only for India, but for the world. It's important because India is already a very big importer. It imports about 160 billion energy import, and it's growing. And this demand is slated to double in 15 years, which will double our imports. The Prime Minister, in his Independence Day address, has actually said that India should become fossil fuel free by the time it becomes 100 in 2047. So energy is a master resource. It affects everyone in the economy, but India imports a lot of energy needs. It is the third largest importer of crude. And therefore, the answer to many of these challenges lies in energy security. And as I said, only 17% of our total energy consumption is in the form of electricity. The rest, 83%, need other form of decarbonization. And this is very important because refinery sector, fertilizer, long distance transport, steel, they don't consume electricity, they consume energy, which is fossil fuel. So if you want to decarbonize these sectors, oil, gas, etc., many of these sectors, you need to bring in green hydrogen. Green hydrogen can help. And this is very, very critical because the 83% needs deep carbonization. Now, our challenge is really that energy security and decarbonization is critical. And now why hydrogen for India? Green hydrogen is important because we do 160 billion, which is likely to go up to 320 billion by 2035. Hydrogen is a must for net zero energy import by 2045. COP47, which the Prime Minister has committed to. One of the key advantages is that India already consumes 8.5% of global hydrogen already, and this is a strategic advantage. India can emerge as a #1 exporter of electrolyzer and green steel, which when Europe puts its border tax in 25-26, and almost 60 gigawatt of green hydrogen can create 180 gigawatt of solar demand to meet 450 gigawatt of this target. So there are many hydrogen applications. Hydrogen is used in two forms, chemical and energy. And chemical is a large industry with 70 million tons demand globally. Refining is the largest consumer of hydrogen globally and in India. And hydrogen actually removes impurities from crude oil. Hydrogen can be used as energy by blending with natural gas pipelines and in heavy duty transport. In future, when hydrogen becomes cheap, it can be used in energy storage as well, which is very critical. Now, India is going to experience 5 to 10x increase in hydrogen demand by 2050. And this is, to my mind, while this is the report, to my mind, this will happen much quicker, much faster, and this will increase Indian gas imports. And therefore, if you look at it, if hydrogen demand is going to grow, this is what our think tank partners have estimated. Therefore, though immediate demand is refining and fertilizer, in the long run, steel and transport will be the major demand driver. And while in steel there is huge demand for green steel globally, European customers are willing to pay more money for green steel, and India should really aim to become a global champion of green steel. The transport sector is also a very promising sector for hydrogen. Now, green hydrogen, you can have hydrogen in its blue form, in its gray form, but can be much cheaper than gray hydrogen. From this analysis presents from 2026 to 2030. And one of the key advantages which India has is its huge consumption already in the refinery sector. And the challenge is green hydrogen from a standalone renewable system or from RTC renewable arrangements will be more cost effective than grid connected electrolyzers. And the number of measures which the Ministry of Power has already announced in terms of reduction of T&D charges, many of the waivers of interstate transmission system charges for electricity generated from wind and solar, and most recently this waiver was extended to projects commissioned from 30th June 2025 for pump storage, hydro and battery energy systems. All will push really for green hydrogen. Now, what this report presents is a demand side analysis. Almost 94% of the hydrogen demand in 2050 can be actually met from green hydrogen. And this will be up from 16% in 2030. The important point to understand is that green hydrogen prices right now are about $4 to $4.5 per kilogram. The challenge for India is to use its size and scale and its existing utilization of grey hydrogen in the refinery sector to bring it down to about $2.5 by 2025 and bring it down to $1 by 2030. And this is really the key challenge for India. Really push for reduction of costs as we go in for scale. And India today currently consumes almost 6 million tons of hydrogen, largely concentrated in India, industrial uses in refinery and as feedstock to produce ammonia and methanol. And current hydrogen consumption is almost equally split between refinery and ammonia production, with a small share of consumption in methanol production. So the challenge really is, if you go for 450, 500 gigawatt of renewable, what happens? The challenge is that you will end up with a duck curve, and the duck curve, as it has happened in other parts of the world, California and many other parts of the world, really means that electric uh, you will have to find solutions of storage. This is clearly the challenge. India's current renewable power installed capacity is 110 gigawatt. To reach 500 gigawatt, India has to increase its capacity by 5 times. And the issue has been, this huge capacity will pose several challenges for grid while integrating it. With more integration of renewables, the time gap between peak production and peak demand will widen and lead to the duck curve and will pose huge risk of grid collapse. And India, running out of demand for solar and renewable energy sources, need to find additional utilization sources. And therefore, it's important to find ways to structure large solar energy during the day, and the resultant green hydrogen can be used in industrial or transport applications. So green hydrogen really can avoid about 3.6 gigatons of CO2 emissions by 2050. And what this report says is that India's low cost, and this is the crux, the low cost of renewables and green hydrogen enable itself to be highly competitive in export of hydrogen as well as low carbon products such as green ammonia. And therefore, India can emerge as a global champion. India can be one of the cheapest cost producer. Ultimately, this export competitiveness is a function of creating domestic demand, getting the size and scale right. And India can actually be one of the largest producers globally at low cost to the world. India is climatically blessed for the renewables. In green hydrogen, 70 to 75% of the cost is the cost of renewable, 10% is the cost of electrolyzer, 20% is the cost of balance of plant. So if you're able to bring down your cost of renewables lower, get the size and scale, bring in electrolyzer manufacturing, you can be a big champion in this sector. So electrolyzer manufacturing, which is actually a very, very old technology. There's nothing new, no rocket science about it. We feel that the demand would mean a tremendous opportunity in the upstream for electrolyzer manufacturing. There are several people who've gone in for electrolyzer manufacturing, several companies which have started collaborating. This is again a great India opportunity. This can a huge opportunity for people to get into this business for electrolyzer. The key to our analysis is that the key to succeeding in green hydrogen is that we've done this analysis that India is climatically blessed. India does not face competition as far as renewables is concerned in terms of climate conditions with China. It faces competition from Middle East, which is already flushed with fossil fuel. And therefore, India should use its climatic conditions to bring down the cost of renewable, enhance renewable production, crack water, produce green hydrogen. And Japan and Singapore all will really demand green hydrogen in due course. Japan has recently floated one of its biggest tenders. And part of our global green hydrogen value chain, the coastal fertilizer plants should be used to push really for all these countries, Korea, Japan, Singapore, they are all betting big on green hydrogen. But they don't have the land or solar power to make hydrogen. And we need to form an alliance with them. And Indian coastline fertilizer companies should be pushed to become world's largest hydrogen exporter in the form of ammonia. So one of the things we've looked at is about hydrogen corridor and focused transport pilots. Hydrogen mobility is very, very expensive today. The primary reason for it is the fact that it is very expensive to transport hydrogen from one place to another. And to develop India's capability in hydrogen-based transport, India needs to form green hydrogen corridors where there's already a lot of green hydrogen will be produced. For example, Koeli in Gujarat to Salav in Maharashtra, a 46 kilometer has 3 refineries, 3 fertilizer plants, 1 steel plant, and a long gas pipeline running through it. Fortunately, the stretch also has golden quadrilateral stretch running through it. And India can attempt to create 3 such corridors in partnership with states as a part of its PM Gati Shakti program, and international agencies could run 1,000 heavy-duty vehicles on this. So why is why is green hydrogen critical? Green hydrogen is critical if India is to become a major exporter, firstly, a major exporter of green hydrogen and green ammonia. Secondly, if India is to become fossil fuel independent by 2044, 2047, to make India a zero energy importing nation by 2047, this requires a paradigm shift. And to make India a high-tech manufacturing nation, to ensure that we achieve our target of 500 gigawatt renewable by 2030, to make India by 2030, if you want to be a $7.5 trillion economy, and to make India a leader in climate. I view this not as a challenge, but as a huge opportunity. This report really presents the opportunity which India has. Climate change is not a challenge, it's a huge opportunity which India should technologically leapfrog. And what this report brings out is the massive opportunity technologically which India has as far as green hydrogen is concerned. So India needs to take some bold moves to capture this opportunity to make India a zero net importing nation by 2047. We can't continue to be a fossil fuel nation. We need to become a clean technology nation. So our view is that we have a clear action plan as a part of this report. Set up a visionary, a detailed roadmap focused on all demand sectors. Push for it. Establish an aspirational cost reduction target of $1 per kilo by 2030 and initiate supply side intervention, demand side intervention through mandates and incentives to enable 160 gigawatt of cumulative electrolyzers by 2030. I'm saying this because when renewables started in India, solar started, I remember, in Gujarat at 22 rupees. Today it's 199 rupees. So initially we'll have to push for it, and that is important. So convert the grey hydrogen into green hydrogen through mandates and step up. We've analyzed this, that on the refinery side, the differential is very, very marginal, only 1 paisa, 2 paisa. And therefore, we need to take that risk and push for it. The gains on the longer term and the medium term will be enormous for these refineries. And we electrolyzer manufacturing capacity of 25 gigawatt for 2030 and initiate green hydrogen standards and a labeling program, promote exports of green hydrogen embedded products and green hydrogen through an international alliance. We need a very strong international partnership. All these things, really, this would require a huge interministerial effort. This would require a huge amount of backing from petroleum, power, MNRE. All of them will have to work together in a coordinated partnership. Without this, visionary goal cannot be achieved. And this is the challenge, but it's a massive opportunity for India, which India must utilize. This is the only way to technologically leapfrog, to make India the center for green hydrogen, which is really the future of the world, according to me. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir, for your detailed presentation about the roadmap for the India to leapfrog in the green hydrogen production for exports. Now it's time for launch of the this RMI.
I request Vice Chairman Nitya to kindly release it. I think it's both of us. VCG, CW, Gautam, you also come. Any other partner who's here? They're all working. They all come. Anybody from CW here? Come. Okay, have you already taken the ribbon off? Okay. Congratulations. No, thank you, sir. Thank you. I'm really grateful to the Vice Chairman for. He's a great energy expert. I'm really thankful. I was very keen that he releases this. Really thankful. It's monumental work. May I now request the Vice Chair? May I now request the Vice Chairman of Niti Aayog to give his inaugural address?
CEO,
Clay Stranger in Colorado. Well, I'm not sure where you are, Clay, at the moment. Is it
I'm
Colo-
currently in
is it-
Colorado. Yes.
Yeah, okay. Partners in this venture, some of whom were just here at the podium. People here and offline from a wide array of PSUs, ministries, and of course, colleagues and staff of Niti Aayog. I'm, if you like, the grateful beneficiary of the work that all of you have done over the last year in partnership with RMI. Clay, I might mention that Amory and I were contemporaries at university in England, and I actually have visited and seen the banana plant in his home or in his office. So please give my regards to Amory, who founded RMI, what, 40 years ago, something like that? I can't recall.
40 years ago this year, sir, and I will absolutely extend your regards. And we hope we can welcome you back before too long.
Right.
Headquarters here.
Before I get to the substance, there's so many things about the venture that strike me as so appropriate for the kind of organization that I'm now privileged to lead. That this is looking ahead, that it is done in partnership, that it is futuristic, that it is granular. All of these are roles that I think Niti exists to discharge. I'm particularly impressed by the range of partnerships, intellectual partnerships that have been involved in this. As you know, part of my background is with think tanks, and the fact that well-known think tanks have partnered with Niti in this venture is important to me. I think, though, that setting an agenda for the future and looking beyond the difficulties of the moment is something that's difficult but important to do. CEO had mentioned that I can't claim to be a deep energy expert, but I did have 4 years at Shell, and Ritu is a co-author with me of work that I did on behalf of Shell on Indian energy. My years there were 2012 to 2016, and I can tell you that hydrogen and carbon capture and storage, all of these were seen as impossibly futuristic, impossibly expensive. But as CEO has said, cost that basically deployment means that cost curves come down. Now, in my time at Shell and thereafter, it was really Germany, I think, that took on the burden of proof of concept on thin film solar. And then because they drove the technology down the cost curve, that then created the opportunity for China to go to industrial scale. And what I've not been exposed to this report up till now, but what I sense from what CEO has had to say is that there could be an opportunity for India to do the same. And again, what Clay had to say about the innate advantages of India, essentially, I guess, in terms of climatic and availability of land, that is against again, new for me and new to me. CEO has already indicated that there are issues connected with displacing fossil fuels where industries require heat. And it is one reason why India is not that much further behind current practice in the rich countries in terms of the share of electricity. I remember in the book that Ritu and I worked on, if India was 18%, advanced countries at that time, maybe a decade ago, were in the low 20s. And so what the advanced world is also confronting is, of course, to raise the share of electrification. But they are not having to do that with the challenge of large-scale industrialization. And I think that was really the point that you have made, Amitabh, in your presentation. And so the notion that green hydrogen can, as it were, provide the replacement for industrial heat without the need for fossils, I think is really the submission of this report. Again, and Amitabh referred to the duck-shaped curve. Yes, it is true that we may have low levelized cost of electricity at the moment, but I'm never quite sure whether that includes storage as well. My understanding is that's less of an issue in the industrial applications of green hydrogen. So there are, a number of attributes of green hydrogen that make it very attractive. I think in all of this, as we go to the next step, and I'm sure that Advisor Energy and his colleagues will now take this crusade forward, and it is a crusade. The real question is, what is the mix between mandates and regulation on the one hand, and price instruments on the other? I don't have an answer to that, and I'm going to read the report carefully myself to see what it has to say on that. After all, we know that there has been a renewables purchase obligation, but we also know that curtailment is the reality because of the hard-pressed nature of the DISCOMs. Hopefully that is not going to be an issue that will arise with industrial applications of green hydrogen. So I think I've exceeded my time. Let me just say I'm proud and privileged to have been here for this event. CEO, thank you for your leadership. Thank you for pulling together this kind of consortium. I can only give you my assurance that on my watch, I will do what I can to push this forward. Thank you all.
So on behalf of all the partners of this report, and there are many, many partners who work together on, on behalf of NITI, on behalf of RMI, TERI, CEW, DCG, on behalf of many of the people who had done peer review of this, including Dr. Vijay Kelka and many other people who had done this peer review, and on behalf of the entire NITI, the energy division, and there's some very young people like Kautham who work as a young professional. He started working, sir. He's now moved to, he's now a big time green hydrogen expert and has moved to greener pastures outside. So many young people got involved, and I think the best green hydrogen expertise that you have in India today resides in your energy division. So all these people sitting this side are the best. This side are really your big asset for the future. They are
they're really top class. And I must say, I also wanted to say that, sir, we built this very strong partnership with Shakti, which has brought in Ritu and her team. And we are determined to make NITI the best energy modeling team in the world. And we've taken a series of measures to make this the best modeling team in the world. So since you are such a great energy expert and since you are such a brilliant economist with such great clarity of mind, my request as I move away from NITI Aayog is to fully utilize this energy team, sir. This is a brilliant team and the best team possible.
Amitabh, there are two kinds of energy. There's the energy represented there, and there's the energy represented by you. You're the irreplaceable.
It was such a pleasure. It was such a pleasure, and I want to go on record to say that it's been a real pleasure, firstly, working with you as my vice chairman. It's been such a delight and an honor. I only wish I had a much longer time to be spending with you. I've rarely seen a person with such great clarity of mind. You know, absolutely laser sharp and absolute clarity of mind on what a think tank should do. And this is really wonderful. Unfortunately, I've had a very short time, but all our partners are here. Many people who are getting into the green hydrogen business, many experts have also joined us. So I'm really thankful to many of the private sector people who've given their inputs and joined us. It's been a great collaborative partnership, and we'll continue to keep pushing for green hydrogen and ammonia in the years to come.
And we're not going to let you go off to the sunset. We'll pull you back in.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Right. Bye, Clay.